One of our favorite ones was lean against the other police car and they wouldn't let him out and just spray mace on the vent. And then they'd have to drive the police car with crying out the window. There's a lot of things we did to each other. We were ruthless to each other, but it was great fun. And when I retired, I missed that incredibly.
I do not know you, but I am your brother.
You do not know me, but I am your protector.
I will run into a burning building to save your life.
Though I do not know your name, I will take a bullet for you.
Though we've never met,
I believe in duty and sacrifice
of self.
Your family is my family.
Is my family. Your life is my duty.
What's going on, guys? Time for another episode of Behind the Uniforms. I am here today in gorgeous Florida. So as you may have noticed, it is not our typical whiskey wall set. I've got some really inspirational gentlemen that we're going to be dropping their stories. So instead of me introducing you, I'd love it if you would just tell these guys who you are and give some background.
My name's John J. Wiley. I'm a retired Baltimore police sergeant. My career went from 1980 to February 1992. I was retired due to permanent line of duty injury at a ripe old age of 33. And then from there, eventually migrated into radio. And I'm a radio music DJ and also work with Robert Greenberg and Law Enforcement Today doing talk radio show.
How'd that happen?
We have been seeing each other on Facebook, and I've been really active in wanting to help police, especially retirees, who might have been forced out of the job due to injury and then kind of floundering and trying to find their way. So we wound up, after about 6 months, finally met for lunch one day and we started talking about radio and broadcasting and how we can bring content and shows to that platform. And It's been very, very, very successful.
Awesome. So sticking in line with the show here, I ask everybody to share a couple stories. One, an enjoyable, humorous, funny, inspirational story, and a second being a difficult story. On the show, we're all about showing the men and women behind the uniforms and showing that at the end of the day, they're looking to go home to their families as well and just serve their community. So I'll let you sort of run the show from here.
The funniest, there are so many great stories. I am honored to have worked with so many great people in the Baltimore Police Department. And I worked in Northwest District, Park Heights, Pimlico area, where you see the Preakness race. That was where I was first assigned out of the academy. And a collection of great people that lived there. It was a real blue-collar neighborhood, high crime, but lots of great folks. And the men and women I worked with were phenomenal. One of the things is I had come up there from Southern Maryland. My dad's career Navy guy, and I had been in a seminary and wanted to be a priest and decided beer and breast kind of ruined that whole career field for me. So then I decided to go to police work, and I got hired by the Baltimore Police Department, went through the academy, got assigned there, and I didn't know the language. Baltimore has a very distinct language and slang, and I remember people saying things like going to a call and saying, what's the nature of the problem? First thing you say, you knock on the door and say, who is it? Say, the police. They go, who? You had to say police, because in Baltimore they don't say police, they say police.
Gotcha.
Or polices, so I'm not making it up. And the person said, my son is acting up, blah, 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 and he's selling wolf tickets. And I'm like a 21-year-old kid and go, what the heck are wolf tickets? I don't know what that is, like concert? No, he's being disrespectful. So there's a lot of terminology I didn't know, and I'm trying to act like I know. Don't have any stains on my uniform yet. There's no food or jelly stains, all clean cut and razor sharp creases, and have absolutely no idea what's going on. None. And it was, people invited you into their house for dinner. Literally, when you worked a post up there, they'd have a cookout. They say, come on in. Wow. And even when you had to arrest people, it wasn't necessarily always a hostile environment. A lot of times you talk to them later on, they knew your name because you were there every day.
That's a far cry from Baltimore of today.
And I don't know what happened. I don't know when that changed. To make a very long story short, when you got a post, mine was 635 post, my sergeant said, you need to know everybody on this post. You need to know who the bad guys are. You need to know who the good people are. If I pull up and I point to someone and you don't know who they are or where they live, you haven't done your job. You need to be known in this community. And you'd walk around where you didn't have some free time, you'd talk to people. You didn't have a lot of free time. So that was one of the funny experiences. Playing pranks with each other was another one. One of our favorite ones was lead against the other police car, and they wouldn't let him out, and just spray mace on the vent, and then they'd have to drive the police car with crying out the window. There's a lot of things we did to each other. We were ruthless to each other, but it was great fun. And when I retired, I missed that incredibly because I thought I'd never have that kind of camaraderie again.
That's awesome. All right, talk to me about something difficult that you experienced.
There was so much violence, and violence that you would not comprehend that people could inflict on each other. We literally had a stabbing over an argument of who got to lead the family prayer at Thanksgiving.
How's that?
Of course,
for irony?
of course, alcohol is usually involved. The violence towards children and spouses and just to each other was horrifying. We had talked earlier. I've been in 4 shootings in 10 years, and the first 2 I never fired a shot. The second 2 was a different story, and I'll relay one of the last ones for you. I was a sergeant, and I was in a patrol car with another sergeant. The lieutenant let us borrow his car. It was a brand new patrol car, Chevy Caprice. He said, "Whatever you do, don't wreck it." I'm like, "Okay, we'll be good," because we're short on vehicles. And that night, Baltimore County had a murder robbery where the victim was killed and the perpetrator, suspect, took his new '87 Corvette convertible. And it had been spotted unattended in our area. So I just felt like he's going to come back. And I said to them, suggested pop the hood if you can and pull the coil wire so he can't move the car. Apparently they couldn't do that. So we pulled down the street out of the school parking lot at the end of a one-way street, the only way out. And all of a sudden we hear chatter on the radio and just a tremendous commotion. I pulled the Caprice out and all around the corner comes this Corvette, spinning wheels, and it looks like a scene out of a Stephen King movie, hitting parked cars, and you could hear gunshots in the background. But what's weird, Kyle, is that you ever been like in your room in your home, and next room over the television's on, and you hear it. You're aware there's conversation going on, but you don't know what's going on.
Right.
That's what's happening. You hear this, but you don't really register. So he hit his head on. Before he did, he was firing out the front door with a .45 and hit his head on. And my partner, Jim, at the time was yelling, "Don't get out of the car door, be careful," or something. I don't remember what it was. He bailed out, I bailed out, and I had a .38 revolver, is what we carried at the time. And I could hear gunshots off in the background. And he's firing at me, I'm firing at him, and I'm realizing somewhere in my mind that I don't even know if I'm aiming. I don't know if I shot at seagulls flying by. I don't know. I realized I'd shot 4 rounds, and he was trying to like reload. And I thought to myself, I'm in the middle of the street, I've got no cover, and this guy's trying to load a full clip into a .45 automatic. So I ran up and I tackled him. I didn't realize I'd shot him in the wrist, and that's why he was fumbling trying to reload it. And then, of course, he was arrested, and the funny thing was he goes, "Wiley, you shot me." I didn't recognize him at first. He recognized me from my plainclothes narcotics days.
Wow.
And this is before everybody had cell phones. The big crime scene came, the county police, the brass, and they brought the emergency vehicle unit, and the news crews were there. And I've been through so much at that point that my wife, we had 2 young babies, and I was working 4 to 12, and I had no way to contact her. I said, "You're going to see me on the news." I asked him, I said, please, let me call. Just let her know I'm all right. And I did. And the good news is everybody survived. The bad news is that sort of stuff had such an impact on me that it basically killed my relationship, my marriage, and it meant many years apart from my kids. And that's the reality of what happens to a lot of people in this job. You know, and I'm just very grateful because I could have been seriously hurt. in that incident and other ones where a guy was trying to shoot me, the unarmed man, the gun grab. That's how I got the steel plates in my wrist. And all that stuff played a very heavy role in damaging my psyche, for lack of better words. So you just isolate from everybody, including your spouse. And that took a long time to get over.
Well, I mean, as we were talking about earlier, a lot of veterans come home after 18 months, 6 months overseas and suffer from PTSD because of a lot that happens in a short period of time. And with many officers, PTSD is something that's accumulated over a number of years. So.
And a big part of the problem is that when you retire, especially when you're forced to retire due to injury, where you feel normal is at work. And where you feel like you're a part of is at work with the people you've known, the camaraderie, and that becomes a tremendous coping skill. But when all of a sudden that's gone, and you're left with that, and you're left with the aftermath of all that stuff, a lot of people, myself included at the time, really struggled. You know, and then it's, the one thing I'd like to say before I close on this is there's a misconception that police shoot automatically in every deadly force situation. And that was not the case in my case, and it's not the case in the vast majority of officers I've known during my career and afterwards. It's a rarity. When it does happen, a lot of times you don't even return fire for whatever reason. And
so let me ask you a final question. Would you do it all again?
Absolutely. Would I do it all again today in this atmosphere? I don't know that I would. My daughters, they're not in police work, and I'm glad. But if I had to do it all over again and be at Baltimore Police, knowing what I know now, yeah, I'd do it again, for sure.
How can people follow you?
Check us out, Law Enforcement Today, and on our Facebook page, Law Enforcement Today. Like us there. And of course, we have the radio show podcast on our app. And if you ever think that we can do something to help you, your community, your organization, or just another police that might be having a rough time, firefighters, EMTs, and veterans as well. A lot of people, I know they're veterans, have struggled becoming a civilian again.
Absolutely. Awesome. Thanks for
Kyle.
coming on the
My
show.
pleasure.
See you soon. Guys, hope you all keep following. Hope you all keep sharing these stories behind the uniforms. We'll see you next time.